auspicious greeting and good morning to all. And I wish you all have a good week. Let's start with a warm welcome to you and to our weekly Community of Practice Sunday check-in section for half an hour of Dharma reflection and community connections. So if you're a new member for our community, please accept our wholeheartedly warm welcome to you. We also welcome any questions, whether it is regarding to the practice or the topic, and we love to help. So this is customary for people in Australia to begin any meeting by acknowledging the traditional owners of our land. I would like to start today by acknowledging the Tarawa people as the traditional owners of the land on which Nanti Institute resides. So I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all are, and I pay my respects to the elders in the past, present, and emerging. So the Sunday check-in sections have been developed by our community's practice team and the entire community. The purpose of these sections is to develop a reflective practice in response to changes. So guided by humanistic Buddhism, we would like to cultivate our practices and to build memorable friendship. So we are coming to September check-in sections Dharma Sharing. So for the first Sunday of this month, we have Meg Hart guided us on a beautiful journey about radical hope and everyday courage, where we learned about transforming the dissonance into the Dharma. So today we are grateful to have Dr. Jonathan Page to facilitate us on another great topic, namely Samvega. So let us all welcome Jonathan to start his sharing with us.
Yes, thanks very much. I hope everybody can hear me. And welcome to everybody who have arrived here today from the 10 directions. So I'm going to be talking about Samvega and the emotions of spiritual urgency, which is a very important topic in our spiritual life. And it really continues the trajectory that was begun by Katya last month when she spoke about resistance, habits, and transitions. And it also follows on from Meg's talk last week on radical hope. And you can see in this image a young man contemplating the world about him, like we all do from time to time, a world that is largely created by ourselves. So let's begin with a short meditation. And this meditation will be influenced by Ruth King and Pamela Ayo-Yetundi, who express their Samvega in terms of their Afro-American heritage. So everybody, begin the meditation by allowing your body to become comfortable. Gently shut your eyes and take a slow, deep, mindful breath. And pay attention to that breath, and also your body, and in particular your heart. So be intimate with each moment. Place one hand over your heart and feel the warmth of the compassion arising from your heart. Perhaps a little subtle initially, but let the warmth slowly increase and perfuse throughout your body, creating a great sense of compassion, love, and comfort directed towards yourself. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, the Buddha said, deserve your love and affection. So keep your hand gently over your heart for the remainder of the meditation. So you can gently open your eyes now and return to the world about you. And we'll have the next slide, Joyce. So we'll begin our discussion and thinking of Samvega with a familiar figure, that of Prince Siddhartha. At age 29, Prince Siddhartha travels out of his palace with Chana, his charioteer, and on his, or with his loyal white horse, Kanthaka. And it should be noted that in the Pali Canon, both Chana and his horse eventually become enlightened. But that's another story. So on this journey out of the palace, the prince witnessed and deeply experienced the four existential sites, namely aging, illness, and death, together with the presence of a mendicant shamana, a man seeking the truth. Now, the prince witnessed these sights, but more importantly, they deeply affected him with a deep experience, and he embodied the sights and truly understood for the first time the nature and the reality that he too would eventually age, experience sickness, and die. And thus he experienced overwhelming Samvega, the truth of his circumstances and that of all other human beings and life forms. And so began his spiritual journey. So next slide. So here in this image, we can see demonstrated the prince on his chariot. We can actually see two horses, and we can see the sights laid out in this rather pleasant bucolic scene. And we can see the contemplative mendicant, a Buddhist monk, meditating in a very convenient position where he can view these sights at close quarters. But of course, he could be meditating in any place because these circumstances are universal, both to humans and to all life forms. But nonetheless, the prince reports that the effect was devastating. He says in the Sukhamala Sutta that he was horrified, humiliated, and disgusted, oblivious to himself that he too would be subject to aging and not beyond aging. He experienced profound empathy and interconnection that we too can feel. So next slide. So Samvega, what is Samvega? A spiritual crisis. Bhikkhu Thanissaro describes it this way, that it is the oppressive shock, dismay, alienation that comes with the realizing of the futility and meaninglessness of conditioned life as it is normally lived. The sense of quiet desperation described by Henry David Thoreau. It is a chastening sense of our own complacency and foolishness in having let ourselves live so blindly. And thirdly, an anxious sense of urgency and yearning in trying to find a way out of our meaningless cycle of samsara. So the next slide. So Samvega, once experienced, it's a call perhaps to act or maybe to stop acting, to stop. There are many factors in our lives, and these can be karmic factors, they can be transgenerational, interpersonal factors in our lives that trigger Samvega. But these factors are not always clear to be seen or felt. It may follow a relationship crisis of some sort, or the emergence of a past trauma or a current trauma, may be part of grief, a serious illness, or a sudden awareness of our own true mortality. There are many presentations, namely factors in the present moment, or as a present, in other words, a gift from somewhere out there or perhaps somewhere in here. It is usually overwhelming to some degree. In other words, we feel out of our comfort zone. Emotions may percolate to the surface. Tears may flow. We may experience perhaps an epiphany, an illumination. We may see ourselves as we truly are for the first time, and likewise the world. But what is happening? Life seemed so ordinary before, but always beware of the ordinary, because nothing is truly ordinary. The world now seems strange, unfocused, and remote. And all these questions arise. Should I act now? What should I do? Should I pause? How do I know? Next slide. So we must remember also, apart from the sense of falling apart ourselves in some way, that the earth too, and all living creatures upon this earth, are suffering also. And we do experience a sense of interconnection and interbeing during the process of Samvega. Next slide, please, Joyce. So some early understanding may arise. This experience is about who I really am. But who is that? It's about the world and other people and life and me. It's complicated. Who should I call? Crisis busters, of course. Who has the answers? Does anybody have an answer? Consider the Dharma. And often we consider the Dharma after we've tried absolutely everything else. Now, next week, I'll be talking about Pasada. And Pasada is a series of dharmic-based practices that are full of wisdom and allow us to avoid and transcend the aversion and discomfort, and they stimulate insight into our circumstances. So next slide. So finally, with all these questions, we should perhaps learn from the poet of a century ago, Rainer Maria Rilke, in the poem Love the Questions. Be patient towards all that is unresolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves, as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Do not seek the answers now, which cannot be given to you, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. In other words, to embody everything. Live the questions now, and perhaps then, in some distant day, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answers. Next slide, Joyce. So the questions for today, and remember that not all questions have answers. Have you or a family member or a friend ever experienced a severe disturbance or crisis in your life? That could be Samvega, a spiritual crisis. What happened? Can you remember the causes and conditions? Were you surprised or alarmed? How did the experience resolve? Has it resolved? What have you learned from the experience? So, Joyce, back to you.
Thank you, Jonathan. So for now, we will be grouped into 3 to 4 members for the sharing and discussion section. So in the discussion, we do recommend you spending a very little bit time to get to know each other and then discussing our questions. So and there will be a Zoom notifications to guide you through, but you also feel free to let the flow of your discussions through you. So our section today are guided by Metta, which is unconditional love and kindness for all sentient beings. So let's use these breakout sections to express and receive loving kindness to and from one another. So let us take time to pause to share and to listen mindfully. We also ask you to share some of your findings with the larger group at the end of the breakout section. So let's go to our breakout rooms for a good discussions for today. So see you all back in 15 minutes time.
Well, yes, welcome back, everybody. So feel free to put any comments that have arisen in your own mind into the chat box so that we can all learn and become wiser as a result. And you can be doing that while I pass over to Venerable, if you like, because we've reached 11:30. Would you like to do that, Venerable? Let's talk about...
I think, let Joyce first round up our session together, and then I'll jump in. Joyce, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Welcome back. So we really hope the check-in section was helpful to you, and we hope you experience the unconditional love and compassion from this community. For anyone who might be experiencing a greater need than what today could meet, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us through the email here, and you can also reach out to the professional organizations on the screen. So we're happy to announce an upcoming event, which is the COP meetup. Please come and meet our friends from all over the world in person, if you can make it. It is dated on 25th September at NTI. So coming up, we are actually together celebrate the joy of counting down on having the 100th check-in sections on 2nd October 2022. So for those in Melbourne, there is a very great special event. Wisdom and Light will deliver an immersive exhibition in transporting us into the life of Venerable Master Xing Yun. The exhibition will be held from 1st of September to 2nd of October at this Golden Square rooftop, Melbourne. So the operating time is from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. So as we check out today, let's recite the dedication of merits together to send love and compassion to whoever in need.
Let us now dedicate the goodness of what you have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our gratitude and humility give rise to great vows.
So thank you everyone for joining us for today's check-in section. Here, I sincerely grateful to Jonathan to spare your time in preparing the beautiful slides and your sharing today for this very interesting topic, Samvega, spiritual urgency. So please let us all not to miss another wonderful topic, Pasada from Jonathan on next Sunday check-in section. So now we will continue with our usual post check-in discussions. So please stay around if we have time. So otherwise, we'll see you next Sunday at the same time. So before end, I wish everyone have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you. So I pass it to Venerable Joey.
Thank you so much, Joyce. And thank you to Jonathan as well as Lai Chin, who is operating behind the scenes. Thank you all for gifting us with another thought-provoking Sunday check-in. Before we proceed to our usual plenary discussion, I would like to ask for everyone's permission to continue recording for a few more minutes as I pay tribute to the late Emeritus Professor Bill Lovegrove. As some of you may know, Bill was the immediate past president of the Nantian Institute and saw to the successful start-up of the communities of practice. He supported the COP with his physical presence on Australia Day, the 28th of January, 2019, as one of our first keynote speakers. I fondly recall his sharing of both empirical evidence and personal experience on the topic of the power of the mind. As a psychologist and supervisor of PhD dissertations in this area, even after retirement, Bill spoke to our hearts. After the communities of practice went online, he continued to support us. He opened our Mirrors to Wisdom Poetry Day on Sunday, the 31st of January, 2021, by delivering the welcome address. Some of you may have met him either in person or online. Some of you may have heard of him. His life is one filled with love, laughter, family, and generosity. I will always remember Bill as a jolly good fellow. If there's one thing that eases my sadness when I heard about Bill's passing, it is that he left this world painlessly and peacefully in the loving company of his family at home. I now invite everyone to join me in a moment of silence as we send our farewell wishes to the late Emeritus Professor Bill Lovegrove and loving kindness, metta energy to his devoted wife, Mrs. Dasley Lovegrove, and family. Thank you. In one of the many tributes to the late Queen Elizabeth II, I read about how she attributed training, or what I call practice, to be, quote, the key to a great many things, unquote. Hence, today's topic of Samvega, or spiritual urgency, is timely. May our recollection of the exemplars of those who passed on serve to remind us of the pressing need to practice. Thank you, everyone, for indulging me with this moment to pay tribute to my superior, mentor, and friend.